On the left side of me is the Arri Alexa Mini. Price of the body alone is about $50,000. Doesn't include this cage or the viewfinder, which is about $7,000. Doesn't include the V-mount batteries and other accessories to get it running. You're looking at about $75,000 before you can actually hit record and start filming. On the right side is the Canon C200 EF model. This comes with the viewfinder. It also comes with this display and other accessories to get it running right out of the box. All you need is a CFast card or an SD card. Price of this camera is $7,500. So what I wanted to do is find out, why does this camera cost 10 times more than the Canon C200? Also, how do these cameras differ from one another? Can you match the C200 to the Arri Alexa Mini? So many questions, I needed answers. So I reached out to my friend Rubidium, who also has a YouTube channel called Crimson Engine, to do these tests and also get a second opinion. So for this very first test, what we wanted to do was test out the color science of both cameras. How much do they differ? I've spoken to many DPs who have told me that they love the Canon C series line mainly because it matches up really well with the Arri Alexa Mini. In fact, when I did my C200 review, I talked about how I can just drop an Arri LUT to my C-Log 2 footage and it looks fantastic right out of the box. So we did this in a controlled environment to make sure that we would get consistent results. We also put two 50mm lens on each camera. Yes, we also did it with the same lens because I know some people are going to ask. And for the C200 owners out there, yes, we also did a black balance every single time. So when we did this test, we wanted to see, first of all, how much difference is the C200 to the Arri Alexa Mini, and also, can we color grade the C200 to match the Arri Alexa Mini? Keep in mind, the sensor size of both of these cameras are slightly different. So this records in 2.8 or has a 2.8K sensor that upscales to UHD resolution, and it has this algorithm that does a phenomenal job, and you really couldn't tell the difference. There was actually 2.8K, where this shoots in a cinema 4K, which is 4096 by 2160. Also, when you put these cameras side by side, the field of view is different because of the type of sensor that both of these cameras have. So we had to position the cameras slightly a little bit off angle in order to kind of get a similar field of view. Now, for this very first test, all we were looking for is color. We wanted to see how close they could match. So I already knew that the C200 does a very good job matching with the Arri Alexa Mini, but I did not expect to see what happened next. So once I put both of these files into my timeline, all I did was add the Arri Rec 709 LUT to my footage on both of them, and also added a creative LUT, I believe it was SL Kodak B, on both images, and I was blown away at how close the C200 match to the Arri Alexa Mini. It was probably about 97 to 98% match. The only difference that I could tell between the C200 and the Alexa Mini was the Alexa Mini had a little bit more contrast and also a bit more saturation. So all I did, this was the only thing I did, was I grabbed that same footage, which I already applied both LUTs to the exact same files, and I added a little bit more contrast, 25% to be exact, on the C200 footage, and I added about 10% more saturation. And then when I looked at both images side by side, it was really hard to tell them apart, and I really couldn't tell which one was the C200 and which one was the Alexa Mini. And then what I did was I did a Twitter poll, and I asked people, mainly more of like the average consumer, what they thought of the image and which one they thought looked better. And surprisingly, it was almost a 50-50 split. The majority actually voted for the Canon C200, which actually won at 54%. So I decided to do the same thing on a different forum for filmmakers, mainly C200 people, and I wanted to see if they could tell the difference, mainly because these guys are filmmakers. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, the outcome was slightly different. Mostly everyone voted for B, which was actually the Alexa Mini, which leads me to believe that these people were probably pixel peeping more because they are professional filmmakers, so they would have a little bit more of a better trained eye, which is completely understandable. So we decided to do more testing and also test things outside to see how highlight roll-off is, and just do a couple of other tests to see if one camera was going to perform better than the other. And surprisingly, they both perform very well, and to be honest, you almost could not tell the difference if you were quickly glancing at it. Sure, the Arri Alexa Mini, in my opinion, looks slightly better, but it wasn't like I was getting a crappy image with the C200. And in some cases, I actually preferred the image coming out of the C200 over the Arri Alexa Mini. And I was kind of wondering to myself, what is all the hype about this camera? So we decided to keep moving forward, and the next test was the dynamic range test. So we had our model go right by the window, really close. It was a bright sunny day, and we had just the sunlight coming through the window, and then we didn't really have any light on her because we wanted to test that dynamic range. So she was obviously underexposed and our window was overexposed. And that's when things changed. If this was a drag race and both of these were cars and they had similar 0 to 60 times, this is when the Arri Alexa Mini, the turbos start to spool up and just take over and really show its strengths. This is where the Alexa Mini truly shines. Now, take a look at this footage from the C200. I know you can't really see this, but there's a sign on the left-hand side here, and take a look at the trees. They are blown out. I've tried to recover this as much as possible. This is pretty much as good as it's going to get. Now, take a look at the Alexa Mini footage. You can actually see the sign. The trees are not as overexposed as the C200, and there's so much more information there, much more dynamic range. And even if I take my whites and highlights and bring them all the way down on the C200 footage, there is no information. Everything is lost. If I do the same thing with the Arri Alexa Mini footage, I can actually get almost all of that information back, which is crazy impressive. Then we decided to do an under and overexposed test. So we took both cameras, we overexposed by 2 stops, we overexposed by 4 stops, and same thing under. And the results, well, let's just say the C200 could not hang with the Arri Alexa Mini. Even at 4 stops under, you could still have usable footage with the Arri Alexa Mini, where this is completely unusable. Actually, Rubidium does a more in-depth video on that. I will leave a link down below because otherwise this video would be very long. So if you guys want to check that test out, again, that link will be down below. Make sure to check it out. So as we started to do more tests and we started to push the color grade and things started to get a little bit more extreme, this is where you started to see a big difference between both of these cameras. It was obvious that this was meant to be pushed to the limit, where this, although it does a phenomenal job and it can do very well and it definitely keeps up with its own, once you start hitting that, let's just say like a car over 100 miles an hour, there's just no chance anymore. The Arri Alexa Mini just pulls ahead, and this is why this costs way more money than the C200 does. Now, you're not just paying for the image quality, you're paying for the build quality of this camera, the workmanship, the attention to detail, the nuts and bolts. Everything is made out of the highest grade possible that you can imagine. The body itself is made out of carbon fiber. This is made out of plastic. There's a major difference. Both of these cameras are great. Yes, you can get really good images, but one of them is just going to excel. And this camera is made for the company, the individual looking to get the highest level of quality, spared no expense. Now, I'm not saying that the C200 is bad, but when you're spending millions of dollars in production, Hollywood movies, there is no such thing as, well, this camera can get it 95% there. No. When you're spending that kind of money, you only want the best with the highest quality possible. And this is why a camera like this is chosen over this. Now, if you're doing smaller production, you're just getting paid $50,000 on a project, and obviously you're not going to need something like this, then yeah, the C200 does a phenomenal job. If you're a one-man team, this will most likely be way better than filming with this. This camera will last an hour and a half with this battery, as opposed to this giant V-mount battery where I can barely get a little bit over an hour. There's a major difference. This has built-in XLR inputs. This does not. You need an actual audio team to run audio if you're doing any type of production. There are 2 different cameras, completely different. Obviously, you can get a really great image quality with this, but this is just on a whole different level. So if you have a team, if you have the budget, this would be the choice to go with. Obviously, this would be more on a lower budget scale, but you can still get an amazing quality with the C200. Now, before I sign off, I do want to thank magrents.com, which is actually where we rented the Arri Alexa Mini. We were actually able to get this on a flash sale. So what are you talking about, Armando? What is this flash sale? So if you go to their website right now, which is magrents.com, they have flash sales going on all the time, which is where you get gear at a discounted price. So for example, right now, as of filming this video, which I don't know if it's gonna happen when you watch this, but as of filming this video, you can rent a C200 for a whole entire week for under $250, which is pretty amazing because if you have a project that you need to do and you need to rent a camera like this, you can rent the C200, or if you want to rent the Arri Alexa Mini, if there's a higher budget, you can also do that. Now, you can also do this with lenses and other accessories. So let's say, for example, you schedule to film a wedding during the summer and you need this particular lens and you see it on a flash sale. What you can actually do is reserve that lens, even if it's several months apart, and get it during the wedding so that way you get that deal. Also, all orders over $500 are free shipping. So make sure to check out magrents.com. They are really awesome people, and I actually hope to work with them more in the future. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.